Hello, my name is Erin, and I am a Master's of Clinical Social Work student here at Indigenous Psychological Services. And Lee asked me to describe what I believe, as a white practitioner, Indigenous counseling is. So, to me, Indigenous counseling requires non Indigenous counselors like myself to hold the worldview that we are all related and that everything has spirit, respect for all our relations, as well as our interconnected body, mind, spirit, and emotions, are views that ground my understanding of Indigenous counseling. I also believe that in order for me as a visitor on Treaty 6 territory to practice counseling from an Indigenous worldview, I must value and live by the 7 sacred teachings of humility, honesty, respect, courage, wisdom, truth, and love. I think a life that lives these teachings can support me to hold a stance of cultural humility and safety, that listens with compassionate curiosity, strives for reciprocal relationships, and respects all our relations' inherent rights to dignity and worth. I believe as a white clinician, I must be humble in acknowledging that I am a visitor who comes from the belly buttons of European settlers. Being honest about my ancestry and my lack of lived experience of being Indigenous within Canada will hopefully help me respect that I will never understand the impact intergenerational and spiritual wounds have on Indigenous peoples. Being honest and transparent about my white privilege and my lack of blood memories related to Indigenous ways of healing requires that I respect the truth held within cultural teachings, and knowing that these teachings are not mine to claim. Being courageous and trying to leave my white shame at the door is my goal, so that I can better support people to identify what healing means to them. And knowing that each person I have the honor of sitting besides holds the wisdom and strengths they need to heal is what grounds me in my practice. I also believe cultural wisdom and healing that is directed by people and other Indigenous counselors is something I must always seek. And I also think things like ceremony, connection to the land, and community are components needed to support healing. So, my conceptualization of healing is that there's no final destination of utopia and health, but healing is a circular path. And it's not the destination, it's the journey. And it's a journey that will help us grow and learn and become more fully who we are meant to be. Therefore, I see my role as a counselor to just walk beside people as they face their hardships so they can learn, live their truth, express their emotions, move towards balance, and trust the wisdom that lives within them. Also, since I am a white-bodied individual, I need to stand beside Indigenous communities and use my voice and privilege to speak truth about Canada's history of genocide and ongoing oppression of Indigenous bodies, and work as someone to reconcile what Canada's truth and real history is. Lastly, of the 7 sacred teachings, knowing that love is a universal language and that the energy and spirit of love is carried within all of our essence and spirit leads me to stand from an ethics of love that respects all of us as individuals and also as a connected system. And this ethics of love grounds my counseling practice in hopefully always trying to lead from my heart and not my head, which I believe helps my spirit connect to the spirit of those I have the honor of walking besides, and helps me better support people to understand what their values, needs, boundaries, and strengths are, so they can begin to not only survive, but thrive. Thank you, everyone, for spending the time and listening with me.